All right, welcome back to The Devil in Detail. We're back here at the Grundle news desk, and we are super excited to bring you this amazing episode today.
Number 78. We had a great time in Silver Lake with the one and only Joe Matt.
Joe Matt. Yeah, we hung out
Thanks, Joe.
for an entire day with Joe Matt. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, we went in thinking, all right, this will take, we don't know the guy, depending on his mood, it'll take maybe 2 hours max.
Yeah, maybe he'll give us like an hour or two of his time. That's what we were hoping. But it ended up that we hung out, we walked around, we ate, we drank coffee, we talked about comics, we went to a bunch of bookstores. It was awesome.
We had a legitimate Joe Matt experience.
Yeah.
The whole gamut.
Yeah, we friended out. It seemed like you
guys were vibing out.
We chilled. We got to see some of his sketchbooks, which were super insane. Check it out here.
I was trying to use vintage markers. This is his friend Bill Cucinotta. This is Matt
from
Barr,
Kamiko?
Yeah.
Look at Fade.
I'm in the mirror. We're in the restaurant.
Wow.
I'm drawing no penciling. Everything's this is like my marker phase where I got these markers and I was just drawing directly. And I started, I had these gray markers. Matt still loves the gray markers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like those too.
Is that the French gray or?
No, these were like really common. They were, I think they might have had two tips, one on each end, but they were warm and cool grays. Yeah. So like these are
like the Prismacolors or whatever.
So these are warm grays. They're cheap markers. That's John Gray. Warm gray and cool gray. And they bleed. But
yeah, that's part of the craft though, is getting the alcohol to go where you want it to.
February 7th, 87. That turns into their go. He had an earring too. So, but that's how I was drawing myself, and that kind of morphed into these strips.
Yeah.
Where Matt and I are talking, and that would be Matt. But this was never for publication. This was just
a warm up.
Just to crack them up.
These are books from. These are full, completely dense books from 87 to 92 or something like that.
Yeah, from the time he was hanging out with Matt, living with Bernie Moreau, and before Peep Show started. This is the proto Peep Show.
Yeah, because the early Peep Show strips in the big book are really simple and 20 panels per page. This is even simpler and 30 panels per page, and it was so small. And the benefit that we have is we have Peep Show and Mage 2 and access to Joe via Facebook. He's a very friendly guy on Facebook.
Yeah.
Just wants to tell his tale, and we were there to listen. Thank you, Joe.
God. It was amazing. So we have about an hour. We were chilling at the Cafe Tropical. We're talking with Joe. The sound is pretty good, but excuse any sound flaws.
It sounds good.
I think it sounded
you're a production perfectionist. It sounds quite good.
Yes.
And Joe, you look quite good. Thank you.
We all look great. Yeah. It was a great day.
We're all looking good out here.
Take it away, Ben and Eli in the field. And what's up, Joe?
Not to anything. All right, welcome back to The Devil in Detail. We are here in Silver Lake with the one and only Joe Matt. Hey, what's up? I'm Eli. This is Ben. And we're here. So, Joe.
Your personality changed the minute you knew the camera was on you.
It always does.
The on switch went on.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here talking about the Grundleness of it all and the coloring process that we love so much.
Joe, you colored the majority of the Grundle series, but you go back with Matt to college before Grundle.
Yeah, I think I was 18 when I met Matt, freshman year of college. I was fresh out of high school. September of 81.
How far was Philadelphia from where you grew up?
I grew up in the suburb of Philadelphia. I forget, where did Matt come from? Did he tell you?
I think he's from Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Rural,
a small town.
I guess he came for the school, whereas I was I just want to be, I don't want to be too far from my family because I want the security that I'm not completely out there on my own. But
what was your art like before school?
Before college?
Yeah, were you? I mean, I know that it takes time to form, but
I copied everything.
Yeah.
I somewhere on Facebook or Instagram, I used to copy everything, and I got got skilled at copying stuff that when I would draw my own stuff, it looked terrible. So I did I would copy Eisner's spirit covers for Warren magazine, and I would try to do my own versions. I would try to draw the spirit, getting in a car or something, and it'd be terrible, terrible. So I was really dependent on copying to impress people all through high school. And then in college, photographs sort of became the next crutch. Like, I can copy a photograph, but I can't make up anything. And at no point did I ever think I could draw comics, because I can't draw on my own, let alone draw realistically. And I'm still sort of this way, except I know my limitations, and I kind of draw the same things over and over, simple, more like an iconography approach, like Peanuts or Dick Tracy or Little Lulu. Like, these are very simple characters.
It's your style.
Yeah, but the writing is really important. The words are important.
Right. But the standard of the craft also, you hold yourself to a very, very demanding place.
I have OCD, sort of. Everything's got to be perfect. Mouse is still, the graphic novel I hold in highest esteem. Yeah. And Mouse is like perfect. Well, it looks looser and looser the older I get. But, when it came out in '87 or something, it looks so tight and finished to me. It's drawn the same size you see it. It's hand lettered the same size you're reading it. And if you ever try to copy a page of Mouse at 100% and try to letter that small, you'll know how painful it is.
Right.
You got to get the right pen and the right ink, the right paper and the right ink, and you can't have any bleeding at all. And you got to have a good whiteout. And you got to.
Was it high tools, or it wasn't like printer paper and
Spiegelman?
Yeah, it's very specific stuff.
I know
right?
he did. I know he had a gold tip fountain pen, like a special gold tip fountain pen. But you can't put permanent ink in fountain pens, and yet you always want to use permanent ink. And I know he also lettered. I think he inked with the fountain pen. I think he may have just put permanent ink in it anyway and said, "To hell with it." But the lettering, I'm not sure what he lettered with, but he lettered on little stickers that he then pasted in once he got them perfect, so he could keep doing them over and over again. So anyway, I approach comics like that, but try to keep it simple, but focus on the writing. But I still think of myself like, I can't really draw like Matt. Like, Matt could draw Batman flipping over, whatever. I'm like, I can't even start to do that. Like, I don't even know what the cape is doing. I can draw like Fred Hembeck. He's got his limits.
Right.
I've got my limits. We all do. But yeah, people like Matt, the drawing ability astounds me. And it was a hard pill to. It wasn't a bitter pill to swallow. I always knew I couldn't draw, but writing became more important anyway. Mouse changed my life, and so did Crumb. Crumb's work is the writing.
Yeah.
When it became his autobiographical work.
Right. I think once anyone kind of gets a hold of that, it feels like it changes the way you're going to look at everything.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to segue into a little something. Now you got me.
We didn't even finish what we were talking about.
All right, so we were talking back from a brief break here. We're going to talk a little bit more about you drawing like Matt, you working with Matt.
Oh,
and so when you first kind of started working with Matt and then drawing alongside Matt or drawing Matt into your comics, how did that play out with Matt? And then how did you end up getting the coloring gig on Grundle, which kind of seems like not what we know you for?
I graduated college, art school. Matt and I both went to Philadelphia College of Art. We were both illustration majors. Matt dropped out, I think it was the third year, to start Mage. And then I think Grundle appeared in the back at Mage, right? So that was like the first appearance.
Well, the first
was
Primer,
right.
Yeah. But Devil by the Deed runs for...
Where did those Devil by the
They
Deed?
were in
It's like Mage 6
right, because they were in color. Right.
But the Kaneko guys,
So-
it seems like we're all around you.
Well, right after I graduated college, I did not want to get a job. I still don't want to get a job. It's like my whole existence is based on I don't want to go to jail. I don't ever want to be in jail.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want to have to go to a job.
Yeah.
So I live very poorly. I at that point in my life, I married like the concept of poverty. Like, this is still better than going to a day job. Probably because I think I hated going to school. Is this music going to interfere with the?
I can take down the background noise usually, but this mic is helping a lot.
So after college, Matt was still living in downtown Philadelphia, coloring his book, living in an apartment. I moved back to my mother's house, and I just lived with my mom for 9 months. But I would come into town and visit and stay with Matt. And when I would stay with Matt, he was coloring Mage, maybe issue 7 or something. I forget where, but he was like, "You can help me paint the figures on this and help me cut this frisket." And so I started helping him, and I forget how I was being paid. Maybe I was being paid by the page. Maybe I was being paid with food. I don't remember. Cash?
Yeah.
Maybe probably cash. Probably not. Nothing on the. Yeah, I don't think there were any books or checks.
Right.
But it was a great time. I loved hanging out with him and Sean and Bill Cuccinata, and they were all potheads, but not me.
Yeah.
We went to Fat Jack's Comic Crypt all the time, and then Fat Jack's offered me a job when Tuesday night. New books come in on Tuesday night at 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
You could unload this truck for 2 or 3 hours and make $50. And so I was like, I found a room for like $200. So I was like, this could be my only job. I could make $200 a month unloading this truck. I could pay my rent, and I'll worry about food later. And I did that. And Matt's cash would come in, I'd have food, and I slowly would save money. And once I saved like $1,000, I was like, I'm never touching that $1,000 again. Leave it in the bank. And I've just been slowly adding to my nest egg, just for security, and so I never have to actually think about getting a job. This is the coffee talking, by the way.
And it's also, this is 40 years later, so
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks. So
then that all kind of morphed into you taking over on some of the coloring duties.
well, I wasn't coloring. I wasn't coloring much in Mage except the figures. I was hand painting the figures the way Matt had previously done. He was like, put a strong shadow on these, put some white on the side, leave white, do like a purple and orange fade on the faces. So I colored I don't even know if I was credited. I think I was. But I did more and more as time went on by the 15th issue.
And you were in art school, so that's why he like trusted you to do this. He
Yeah.
had seen your work and he'd seen.
Yeah, and I had my whole days free. I could be there cutting frisket or hanging out and having dinner with him, and he always made dinner. It was great. And he was always generous. He was, always a generous guy. I feel like he's dead and we're talking about him.
Yeah.
But those mechanical acts, with the, I'm not like jabbing you, but like
OCD?
they're suited to OCD.
Yes,
Being really
yeah.
tight on.
Yeah, I still don't want to say like I have OCD. Like I don't, it's just,
I also don't want to say I have autism, but
Yeah.
like I have definite traits of that. And I think comics and cartooning,
Asperger's.
like lends itself to that.
Yeah, like being clean. Being clean is not OCD.
Yeah.
I changed my underwear this morning. Is that OCD?
I didn't do
Yeah,
it, so
that's
is that
right,
on
yeah.
OCD?
So
So yeah, then you
So-
continued and as
we were painting. Matt and I were like hanging out all the time painting,
Yeah.
working on this comic, and then Diana introduced us to the two sisters. Matt met Barb first, then I met Trish. Matt moved to Montreal first, and I followed a few months later. Once I moved to Montreal without a real source of income, Matt was like, color these issues for me, and you'll get like $1,000 a month or something, which is more than enough rent. I live with Bernie, and
with Bernie Moreau. How
Yeah.
was that experience?
it was great.
Yeah. Was he working on the jam at that
He
point?
was,
Yeah.
and like I said, always inspiring. It was like watching a child with great skills, just pencil and ink without OCD.
Yeah.
Like he could just sit there and he could put his coffee cup right on the page if he wanted to, or he would smoke a joint while he was inking. Or
Yeah.
I can't do any of that stuff. I have to have like a piece of blotter paper for my hand on top of the artwork, and anyway,
It's like a conditions must be perfect kind of.
yes.
That's what fuels
Yes.
the
And
pacing of your work.
Right. And that's why conditions are never perfect.
Right.
And like even now, I'm freezing. If I stay up all night, I'm freezing, and I don't want to work in the night because I'm freezing cold.
Yeah.
If I'm up during the day, I hate the daylight. I don't associate daytime with work at all.
Yeah.
Working, my most productive. I'm babbling, but my most productive period was I would work in the middle of the night throughout my life when it was cold, but I loved being under that lamp that was warm. And now the light bulb is no longer warm. So I'm usually freezing, and I don't have heat in my apartment.
And it's like pretty cold for California. It's cold,
yeah, it's been cold recently. And COVID is depressing, and I don't even touch on that. But so I do think mental illness is pervasive everywhere, like everywhere. Yeah. So anyway, Matt, when I moved to Montreal, he was like, "Color Grundle for me. You'll get this $1,000 a month," and it was great. And I knew there was this money attached to this. I knew what Snyder and Geldof were getting, and I knew like if I could just get the inking gig, I would get, if I could pencil or ink or draw, I could have a gig. I could have a run of Grundle myself, like Bernie just did.
Right.
But I was like, I can't. It was out of my reach. I could not. I didn't even try. I did not do some sample pages and said like, here's, let me do Grundle for 4 issues.
Yeah. But you did find your way in drawing a little bit.
That one issue that
the eyes.
Yeah, but he asked me to do that, and that's horrible stuff. It's
in contrast,
Yeah, and that's what. Yeah, he knew it was a good choice on his part, but I cringe when I look at that art.
I won't get it out.
Yeah, and my art is like I think of myself as having a couple styles, even though most people don't. Like my comics.
Most people don't think you have a lot of styles.
Yeah,
right.
like I didn't bring the sketchbook of paintings, but like I can draw and paint from life, which is its own style. I could draw cartoons out of my head, or I could draw like I did this when I was 24, 25. I don't know if you can see that, but that's based on like Ed Big Daddy Roth and those monster cards, monsters driving hot rods. I would have copied that stuff as a child. This. Sorry,
No, this is a super dense book of tons of different.
Yeah, like even now. I mean, this is 1990, and I still doodle like this all the time. Doodling is not a problem.
No, doodling is good.
But I cannot draw.
But there's a standard to which you wouldn't be caught dead publishing.
Yes.
Beneath,
Yeah, like this is me copying from a
We don't have that
photograph.
problem.
Copying from a photograph, me making stuff up, copying from a photograph and distorting, drawing from life. Again, this is how many years ago? 30 years ago. Copied from a photograph, made up, drawn from life, made up. Anyway.
Now, can I see? This is all marker work on this. On the
Yeah,
one
I think this is a rapidograph.
Now, can you go back to this one?
Sorry.
With this is all marker.
Or I think it's a rapidograph pen with colored pencil.
Right.
Colored pencil on top of a gray marker.
Mm-hmm.
Same here, colored pencil on top of a gray marker.
Yeah, that's the gradient.
Yeah, and this is when I was looking at Crumb sketchbooks, and I wanted to, so I was imitating Crumb and constantly drawing like this, but I don't see the point of filling sketchbooks with this anymore. Here's a drawing Matt did. It says Matt drew this. But I hadn't drawn much from life, so I was just starting. And
There's the jam.
yeah,
Oh, sweet.
yeah. So I haven't. Again, this is a long time ago.
Oh, wow. That was cool from just the back. Wow.
That's what I would draw if I made stuff up, and that's kind of like my stuff in Grundle. It looks a bit like that.
Yeah, for sure.
But in comics, I just want to. Well, my comics aren't even here. Again, this was just out of college when I was still dependent on photographs and trying to learn to draw from life more. So this girlfriend, Heidi, I would have drawn her just sitting there posing, trying a different weird style, a thicker style with a different marker. But not penciling, just drawing straight with markers. There's Matt burping. Yeah,
And these are just streamlined consciousness.
Yeah, and this is like something that would have happened that night. back in 1987, January 25th. And then Matt, I would show this to Matt and Sean the next day, and they would laugh, and that was like encouraging, so I would keep drawing more. There's Matt on a bench.
Matt drawing. So you were drawing him and he was drawing you.
I think so, yeah. This is like in downtown. This is like Rittenhouse Square in Philadelphia.
And these are the proto strips that became Peep Show.
Yeah, these strips eventually became Peep Show, but again, this is just for fun. This is Bill Cuccinata. This is my roommate Kevin. Raw magazine was around a lot. I was always flipping through these big Raws and loving them. Again, that's what it looks like if I make something up, drawing from life. I can draw from life better than or different than this now. But there's no place for this kind of work, like this doesn't.
Rock posters or something.
Yeah, and I've done some for friends, but and this is the color. This is the marker, the warm marker and the cool marker. You can see a little fading already, but yeah, I hadn't done any comics yet at this point.
Other than this stuff in here.
Yeah, at this point I would have just been coloring Matt's mage figures at the same time. But these strips started. This is how I started them.
Wow.
And they're
that
very
really
wordy.
Is the proto.
Yeah.
Show.
Yes.
That's what the Grundle drawings look like.
Yeah, exactly. So did they see this, and then Matt probably had this in mind, and he was like, "Oh, you'd be perfect."
Yeah, but Matt had already known me for years. It wasn't like he saw this.
Right. It was like, "Ooh."
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so wordy. Like I can't even begin to read this.
Oh, there's a Grundle piece.
There's a Grundle piece. Yeah, I could not get a gig on the comp, but it still would have been nice.
I like how you taped in or glued in that like hotel receipt or something. Would you go to then concerts?
There's Matt.
Oh, yeah.
What concerts?
Well, I just saw some like drummers or guitar players there.
Yeah.
Just sitting in a coffee house or something.
This is a girl named Alicia that I had a crush on, and I did a strip about her in my first book, The Cartoon Diary of Joe Matt, the trade paperback. So a strip about this girl Alicia's in there. She was like a pothead, a druggy girl, and these are her bandmates. I think she was an alcoholic. I've always had terrible taste in women.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was hanging around them. I mean, I wasn't paying for anything. I was just watching people play in small bars. Hold on. I like that still. Yeah, and slowly, like, look, here's like, not about writing, just trying to put a silent panel in, or timing.
Yeah.
Like I was reading the Freak Brothers too, so like, why I'm holding on that panel, I can't tell you why. I didn't even know what this is. But again, Matt and Sean, they loved reading these, and it was encouraging. Anyway, what were we talking about?
Those are great.
Awesome.
Yeah, those are great, Joe.
So glad to see that.
All
right, so
still filming?
Yeah.
Coming on to Grundle, coming on as the
Yeah, I
proto.
couldn't.
Talking about when you were all kind of in Canada, living together and starting to work together.
We were also,
Because Bernie was inking Grundle for a couple issues at this point, 26,
Right.
27, 28.
and we were also the generation that looked at Jack Kirby's getting screwed by Marvel and DC.
Right.
So we were very like, you got to own your copyright. You have to like create your own thing and own it. I guess you could compare it to like cover bands eventually starting. You've got to write your own songs.
Yeah, exactly.
So Bernie did create the Jam and own it, but working on Grundle was always work for hire, and it's just you get paid once, and you don't. I guess you get royalties somewhere down the line, but it was never like a lot.
Yeah. And from like trades, do you still? I mean,
No, I don't. I haven't got a check in a long time. I don't even know what's in print.
yeah, because it goes down after a while. Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't think much of it's in print at all.
And I don't. Yeah, if any of my coloring's in print, I don't even know about it.
Yeah, because they recolored it for the Omnibuy.
Yeah,
And for the digital Comixology.
and recoloring makes sense because you want computer files and you want everything crisp and clear.
Right.
and there's
in order to be able to republish it and redo it.
Yeah.
So there's, because of the shrinkage and registration, there's
Yeah.
like no way to do it.
So at that point, like, even though I said it would have been great to have been given a run on Grundle, the money was what I'm talking about. The money would have been great. And Bernie, did 4 issues, and
yeah, it's hailed as one of the better runs.
What would your run? What's your Grundle run like?
I have no idea. Yeah. Oh, well, I did lay out something. I did want to do like a 5-page story for like the black, white, and red issues.
Yeah.
And it was like a parody, like Kurtzman would have done. So I did some roughs where I don't even remember. Like, all I remember is I wanted some panels where Grundle had a fork, and he was saying something. I'm directed, I'm focused, but he's actually going to a buffet. And it was just stupid and silly.
Yeah.
It had no place in the Grundle universe.
Yeah. That would be fun.
And I don't even know how I would have drawn or inked those layouts.
Yeah.
But I did do some rough layouts and showed him the mat.
That would be cool.
And he was like, no, thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for the offer, but
But so at the time, I was not like, I want a professional career as a colorist. Marvel at one point called me and said, "Do you want to color this Peter Parker miniseries?" And I was like, no. Yeah. I don't want to. I just
because
don't.
You didn't want the restrictions, which seemed to be like.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to work for Marvel because
of Kirby.
Because of Kirby, and it's work for hire.
Right.
And I don't even know what the page rates are. It's a complicated world. Like, does everybody get paid the same? Do you need an agent?
Yeah.
And what about
Especially as a
royalties?
colorist.
Yeah, what about royalties? Do you have to know what to ask for?
Yeah.
Is
I feel like
everything-
even now the colorist's job is not fully fleshed out, and everyone is at a set rate and everything. Even
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy.
The modern digital coloring is so sophisticated that it fills a different space than what it used to. But when we look at the Blue Line stuff and the artists that we think of, as younger guys, there's only a few that really come to mind. There's a lot of times here where you really seem to be on the cutting edge of this like late analog phase.
Well, it was all done in a vacuum. It was all just done in a few rooms in Montreal, for the most part, without any input except Matt and Bernie. But coloring by instinct and learning, like I liked.
This is the one we were looking at before.
I liked where's that room? Where Epi's room.
Yeah, that's earlier.
Oh, that's in this one.
I liked. I'm not sure if Snyder. The decision to make this foreground stuff pink would have been my decision.
Right.
I don't know if when they were drawing this and inking it, what they were thinking in terms of color.
They
But,
really recolored a lot of that.
But then, after spraying the background brown, except for the doorway, this is all colored pencil for the details.
Oh, all these books and stuff.
Yeah. So that was like, or it could have been paint, but it was very fast.
Right, you could see it on the map.
Oh yeah, all these little lines are colored pencil.
But this foreground is an interesting thing because it tells us that he's going to be like vlogging, basically.
Yeah.
And then he reads Devil by the Deep.
Yeah.
Right. And there's stuff, there's a lot of places in like the plotting of these earlier Grundle stories where it's Matt's being like a little opaque about like letting the reader fill in details in their own mind,
Yeah. I'm looking at it's like when I don't know how I was already coloring for a while, and at this point I just learned like, I can use colored pencils and put all these little marks everywhere. So I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm doing it just because I realized I could. And
it looks cool.
And it was fun. It was a learning process.
Yeah, there's not an issue that goes by where we don't say like, "Damn, Joe Matt." Like,
They're not the same choices I would make today though. Yeah. Like I don't like this orange ledge with the orange sky. Like that should be cool. And the skies are always orange and purple because I'm spraying them all at once. Like while I had the paint going, I would do all the purple skies. I'd be like
to wait for the siphon to be empty to change. We have multiple airbrushes going.
I don't remember the airbrush at all.
Yeah,
I don't remember
it's
it.
a crazy tool.
It was Doc Martens. There would have been a little drop, the eyedropper, but I don't remember it. It's,
but you're not filling it up. It's a few drops at a time.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and they last long. It goes a few drops go a long way. But Doc Martens are not permanent. The sunlight will fade them. Regular light will fade them with time, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else? What else? I feel like I had a
no. We're getting the good info, but we also want
work for hire. Work for hire
Right.
were very dirty words.
Right. We also were wondering how you segued from all this into actually doing Peep Show, getting it going. And
At the time, I started these one-pagers. They were large, and I envisioned a book like the size of Raw, because Raw was what I loved. And if I have a Philly accent, the Philly accent, I'm saying Raw. I'm adding an L. If I'm adding an L, it's the Philly accent.
And that first Peep Show collection is
I thought it would be large,
Yeah.
but I did these one-pagers, planning this large collection someday. Dennis Kitchen liked them, and Dennis Kitchen put them 5 at a time in the back of Snarf, which was an anthology comic. And then John and Quarterly saw those, and Chris Oliveros was just living in Montreal in a crummy apartment like myself. And so I met Chris Oliveros. He asked for some more pages. So I was slowly getting pages done, and then they would appear in John and Quarterly too, but always with a collection in mind that Dennis Kitchen eventually did. But it wasn't great, and I had to, in second printing, I think I re-lettered all the white lettering. Originally, I had lettered in white by inking each individual letter and then filling the blacks in around it.
Oh my God.
That's how, because I didn't know how else to get that white lettering on the page. Later, I reverse Xerox them and drop them in as white.
Oh.
And I would still do that. I'm doing that today. I'm doing these vignette page stories now where there's a title panel. If you ever saw the Drawn and Quarterly, the big, thick 25th anniversary book, my new pages are in there, 15 pages. They're just 3 vignettes or 4 vignettes. But that first panel, I have a title panel. And that I'm usually lettering and then getting a Xerox. Then gluing in the Xerox and then whiting it out and still trying to perfect it. But never using negative lettering again in terms of like narration. But anyway.
So then Peep Show gets picked up for like issues, and you put out 14 issues of Peep Show?
Yeah.
Over the course of 20 years.
Chris Oliveros had drawn Quarterly, Chester and Seth. Chester had already started Yummy Fur. Yeah. Seth was just about to start Palugaville, and I did Peep Show #1, which ruined my love life because it's about Trish. It's about me having a crush on Trish's friend, which I thought she would. So is this going to go on? I don't want anyone. The thought of her seeing this, I thought she would understand. Yeah. It's just ink on paper, and it's meant to like Howard Stern's persona on the air. I would think like Stern would go home to his wife, and he was like, "Yes, I was ogling the girls, but I'm saying filthy stuff, but I wasn't doing anything for Christ's sake." Yeah. It's just talk.
The character.
Yes, it's talk and it's character and
it's tough. It's a tough.
And there's truth in it. Right. But I was never seriously. It's so hard to get a relationship going with anybody, and everything has to click on its own for starters.
Well, we were also talking about the arc where you've got fans who become friends, and it goes south, and then they see themselves in the book. And
How did you continue to like keep pushing on? And I mean, it's a tough.
I did continue. I slowly faded like a dying star. My productivity just even now, like the motivations when you're younger are like a 20-year-old guy climbs on a stage with a guitar to attract the girls and starts shaking his ass because this is what we're wired to do at 20. And we all try to do something when we're younger. And then we get older and the motivation changes. And sometimes it's money, sometimes it's family, children. You got to make money. That's why I said, like, when you have a kid, I'm like, how are you making money? Because when you have a kid, so, I've always wanted my responsibilities minimal, like not even a pet, not a car, like nothing. I'm not saying it's been a great life, but that's my point.
Well, you're slow, but you know that everyone's clamoring and waiting for your work.
Yes,
so that's very rewarding.
When it comes to productivity, everything kind of has to be firing on all cylinders together. Like when you're the Beatles running around the globe playing live and everybody loves you, and the juices are flowing. You're in the studio writing, you're recording the next day, then you're having lunch, and then you're flying somewhere else. But once it's all over, the party's over, and you're George Harrison living in that mansion. You're just like, I think Harrison even said in an interview, he's like, I go months without touching the guitar.
Yeah.
Months.
It's totally different when it's the same thing that happens to like musicians or like someone like Eminem. You know, when you're rough, you're living in a rough way, and that's what drives you to want to work harder to get out of this lifestyle or do something good. But then once you're the richest MC of all time or musician, then like what is motivating you to work hard? And
I never had success. I never had success or money. So it was like I
did have success.
I had makes your work good.
I had disappointment. No, there was no money.
Yeah.
There was never any money.
Yeah, but there was comic success. People.
Critical success. But that doesn't.
It didn't have the same effect on you. I mean, were you proud of your critical success?
I did compare my output to Matt's. Matt has been a workhorse his entire life. He's never stopped cranking it out. He's never stopped working hard. I never started working hard.
Right.
I'm the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I wanted like a book like Mouse. I strived for like a perfect book with my first 6 issues that became The Poor Bastard. And like The Poor Bastard's not in print. Drawn and Quarterly doesn't give a shit. It's like, they're like, give us something new. But to me, I interpret that as a failure on my part. Like, like Catcher in the Rye stays in print. Nobody was like, we need something new. If you want Catcher in the Rye back in print, we're gonna have to have a new book. Right. It's like, so I do feel like there was failure has like permeated, not just artistically, but personal and relationships. The string of never-ending breakups and heartache, it's all debilitating.
But that drove your stories. I mean, that's
it didn't drive my creative juices. No, and I've been through too much pain.
Creative inspiration.
Like I've had 5 relationships, 5 relationships at least in the last 20 years that I haven't even started to put down. I started talking about Maggie in the Drawn and Quarterly 25th anniversary book. But Maggie and I dated in 2002, 20 years ago. And I'm working on strips now. They're just building up to the next 3 girlfriends. And I'm not going to look good in any of them. I look worse and worse as I get older. Like at 40, I was like, I don't even want to talk about it. Never mind. But it's like if I'm, no, never mind.
Would you ever want to change your subject matter or?
No, God, no.
That's what is there.
Yeah, there's nothing else.
Right.
There's nothing else to me.
And like spinning adventure stories, it's just not. That's.
I wish I could. I wish I could write a book like Winnie the Pooh and draw it and illustrate it, and it's a perennial, Or
have you ever thought about or been like sketching and been like, oh, here's my like superhero character?
No.
Like that?
I saw on Instagram today, somebody posted the cover of a children's book called A Million Cats, and said like this book is the longest book in print in American history. It's been in print since like 1823 or something.
Wow.
Or maybe 1923. I don't know. It's been in print. Yeah, probably 1923. It's been in print for so long. It's a children's book called A Million Cats. And it was so successful. This woman, mentioned she bought a house and raised her children.
Yeah.
And
it's probably still helping her grandchildren.
And the woman just died, I think. I don't know if she just died. It's on Instagram. What do I know? All I know is one book set that person up for life, which was, it's always the dream. But it shouldn't be like,
it's so hard to truly.
It's a shitty dream. Yeah. Like the Beatles were not like one hit album. That's the dream.
Yeah.
They kept, I just watched Get Back, and it was so great. Amazing. But those guys are multimillionaires, and they didn't have to make another album. There was no rush. I'm like, why are they? Yeah, it's all Paul, but like they're locked in that studio and they're like, we need 14 songs in a month, and then we got to perform them the next week.
It's just like insane to watch them just mess around into like genius.
Yeah, it is great when you hear Get Back come out of the guitar.
Just insanely mess around.
Like, how much access to flow they have.
Yeah,
and so it seems like a big challenge is always not letting block overcome you and finding that flow.
Yeah, but I did on Facebook. I was going to write about watching Get Back because I watched it really slowly over 3 nights. Yeah. But like Lennon wasn't present. Lennon was not who I thought he was in those sessions. Right. And he's not like leading the band. He's not like
he was completely detached.
Yeah, and I'm like
juvenile.
He's obviously in love, and just putting in the work, putting in the FaceTime.
Yeah.
But Paul's the one going home and working his ass off camera.
Right. And having songs to bring up, and
yeah.
John seemed to only be like making jokes.
I just wonder if John. I know he and Yoko had like a period where they did heroin and got hooked on it. And I'm wondering if was that the time possibly.
It seemed a little sedate.
I wonder. But yeah, like it's real hard to connect that John Lennon with the one you see in like A Hard Day's Night.
Oh yeah.
It's like they're two different
Sharp,
people.
Witty,
yeah,
funny.
it's very strange.
Reading comics.
How long were we on the Grundle ongoing series?
After coloring the Snyder Geldof, Hannibal King was the next artist. And then Tim Sale came on board. And I think when Tim Sale started, yeah, he was inking, right?
I think he was penciling too.
Right, but he did the next run. And at that point, that's when I stopped doing it. I by choice. And then Bernie took over. And Bernie colored.
Yeah, that only brought as far as we've been reading. So this is as far as we got. 29. We haven't even read this.
Did you do some of the covers also?
I colored some of these. Can I see those? Like I said, there's a real apprehension that I didn't want to become a colorist as a career. And that's why I turned down Marvel. And that's why I left Grundle. Because it was taking up all my time. It was a lot of work. And I wanted to do more pages of my own. And once I got a little money in the bank, once I had like 5,000, I felt like I'm secure and ahead. I kept wanting to do my own pages, so I did. And I felt like I could always come back, and maybe there'd be more coloring in the future. But I watched Bernie. You haven't read those Bernie issues where he colored Tim Sale?
We haven't got there yet, no. We're only as far as that issue.
I watched in those ones, it's like the newscast stuff that's very like brutal.
Right. Yeah.
And then it's like the Tim Sale like vampire backups.
Oh,
I
when
think.
they go to Las Vegas.
Or maybe those are my
I guess I have read
I'm not
it.
sure.
I watched Bernie color pages so fast. I was like, good Lord, like, slow
It made
down.
you be like,
Yeah,
shit.
like it made me feel like, why was I cutting all that frisket? Why was he using the airbrush? Because he was just like, kind of like dirty watercolor paint, just smearing it all over the place and putting little highlights. And he didn't know, I'm not going to say he didn't know what he was doing, but his approach was not my approach.
Right.
I don't even remember those issues. I haven't even seen them in 30
He
years.
was less meticulous, but got like the same kind of.
But he was getting the same pay.
Right.
He was making the same
Same
money,
pay.
coloring the issue in like a third of the time that I was putting in. So
We are always marveling at the way you are like adding in the different layers and little splotches and little, you know, like Epi's cape and Pope's face and stuff like that. I feel like those are like
A
the
range
places
of
where-
textures with a very limited amount of mark-making approaches. Whether it's like the reflection of the flames coming up to the
Oh yeah.
ground and all kinds of stuff.
again, logic was always like in my mind, but it wasn't. I don't know. I was going to say the colors I colored some of the Panda Brothers covers. They were wraparound, just like these. They were still wraparound covers, but one had like the Japanese motif with
with all the kabuki drummers
yes,
and all that.
and then another was like, I forget the guy's name, but he's at a table, maybe with a blindfold around his eyes,
Oh, okay.
and it's very red,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of splashing. I did a lot of splashing. Used to love Ralph Steadman.
Okay.
He even came to our college and gave a talk.
Really?
But in the early '80s, he was huge. At least at my peers, we all loved Steadman.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
So when I got to do that splattering, you start to realize like, just coloring too. Like, I'm not doing any splattering here, but I'm like, again, airbrush.
Yeah.
But like, you
Is
could do
this
splattering.
Are these halos sitting on top of the
No,
acetate?
no, nothing's on top of the acetate.
Nothing.
The acetate is just black and white
Wow.
artwork. The halo's a line around, cutting the frisket. I left this line around the figure so my colors don't hit
Oh,
it.
so it's
Yeah.
real. It's as
Fucking
precise as you can imagine.
Doesn't matter. It's just I'm talking about this
Punch it
thin
in.
white outline.
Yeah.
But he purposely, whoever inked this, Bernie inked this. Bernie stopped his ink line, planting this
accommodate
halo.
that
Yeah, to
halo.
accommodate that halo. If on the acetate overlay, any of these black lines were touching it, I could have taken a blade and scratched off that black line, if there's any black line touching it.
But that's the only way.
That's the only way.
You
Yeah.
wouldn't put like
You would not put
opaque
white.
on it.
Right, because the
Well, it
overlay.
wouldn't pick up.
Right, the overlay is just to give you the black plate for printing. So the black and white overlay,
Yeah.
that gets shot separately and provides the black and white black overlay, which always confused me because I'm always like, why aren't the blacks blacker? You know, if we had this black overlay, it's supposed to go over the colors. So why is it like going under them? Why isn't the
You see
why is nothing
different
black?
shades of black sometimes.
Yeah, and yet if it was glossy, it would look worse to me.
Yeah.
Like I hate glossiness. So
Where's the David Princes and the overprinting?
Oh yeah.
When those
That
guys
would
are
be
speaking
impressive.
and it's
what's interesting about Bernie though is like he was the one putting all these little pieces of dirt everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bernie
You know,
is
and-
so good at all that.
And so I would have been mimicking that with color, adding more pieces of dirt. Oh, see, and I said this in the other interview. These pieces of white on the floor. Hold that up. Those pieces of white right there, that would have been rubber cement put on the watercolor paper. After I cut the frisket, a few drops of like rubber cement, and then spray it, and then you can just rub off the rubber cement, and then it leaves white.
Wow.
What's Matt's trick? Matt taught me that, and it was a great trick.
Oh,
But I
man,
didn't.
'cause it's-
I didn't overuse it though.
this is one of our favorites.
But rubber cement it's a frisket. So like if I was spraying this panel and I wanted to keep that eye white, you could it's like liquid frisket. You just go in. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's what these white things here. It was a jar of liquid frisket. It wasn't rubber cement. It was liquid frisket.
Oh yeah.
It was a little jar. Now I remember, probably from Doc Martens.
Well, you
I'm
use
almost-
the square rubber cement eraser
Right.
to pick it up.
Exactly.
The rough one.
Oh,
And I'm almost sorry I didn't do more of it. It's like that's colored pencil right there, the little halos. If this was nicer, these would be white concentric lines, but they're not. It'd be nice if this was more glowing. The computer would be so superior. I mean, everything Matt's son does,
it's
I'm
insane.
like, good
It's crazy.
lord, like it's sickening.
Yeah.
It's so good,
Yeah.
and for fun, he does those fish and the
Oh
mackerel.
my god.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, like, and I looking at this, it makes me cringe to look at this.
We really
This is
admired this one, how you restrained the white.
That to me that's fun. The overall, too many colors. It's too candy colored. Like I don't like. So I don't like these pages.
I think that's kind of
There's-
like a Kamiko thing.
It's not. It's a shitty Joe Matt coloring thing. It's too many colors,
Yeah.
and yet I'm like, it's local color. You know, like if this guy
Right.
keeps reappearing, you'll know it's him because he's got the pink
It's his
shirt,
pink,
Oh, yeah.
and that's that pink shirt must repeat itself. So it's not like Brennan Wagner would color differently.
Yeah.
He would color better with the nude and
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have this dream that Brandon will go back and color the entire run, but it'll never happen.
that was fun.
That
I
is
remember
awesome.
doing that.
Yeah. Was that a splatter, like a Stedman-esque
Yeah.
splatter time?
Yeah, that was
And then this is planned out.
yes, that was planned out.
Yeah.
Bernie's inking, but yeah, Bernie also was a workhorse. You know, when Bernie, I was working hard too. What's my point?
Would you work in tandem with Bernie, like when you were living? Were you living with him at this time?
Yes,
Okay.
we were living in separate rooms. I mean, we didn't live in the same room,
Right.
obviously.
Well, yeah, but you didn't have like a studio.
No.
Out
No,
front?
I worked in my bedroom. He worked in his. Or sometimes he worked at the dining room table. And this would have been all of like 1988 and some of '89. And then I moved in with Trish shortly after that. And then I was inking. I think I was already done coloring at that point. I don't remember. Airbrush. It's weird to see airbrush on figures, but I think I'm just trying to get the pages done faster. And I'm spraying as much as I can.
One of the coolest effects is like that nun with like the glasses, and you always hit it with like yellow and orange airbrush. And
I don't remember. I'd have to see it.
oh, it's good.
These issues are great. I love these issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forget
Those are really cool from a different perspective.
it's not. I forget
Like,
how this is
that-
colored though.
yeah,
This is
like
not
this
hand
that
colored.
analog airbrush.
I don't remember. I don't think these are original color pages. I think these are black and white pages and then mechanical. You know, you color a Xerox and you say this code is YR3,
Oh yeah.
and then they drop it in somewhere.
Oh yeah, so the coloring house.
Yeah.
What's happening with something? Is that overprinting? What is?
This would have been on Matt's black and white artwork. It would have been a solid black panel, and he wanted the eyes orange or whatever. He thought it would be better to color. He indicated somewhere, do it like this rather than do it the eyes, because they would just drop in as two little eyes. He hoped it would be black with just the black eyes, but it didn't turn out that way.
But if you do two dots, you've got more of a chance of misregistering, which could be worse.
Or drawing attention to it. But that two dots would have been the better choice. But if these were pitch blacks, this would have been the better choice. Whereas these are full painted pages.
Right, for that interlude.
Yeah, and these blew my mind at the time. When I saw these, I was like, good Lord.
Those are insane.
He makes it look so easy. It makes me sick. It really, it's like, yeah. Matt and I talk a lot on Instagram or Facebook messaging. Not Instagram, Facebook. Yeah. It just astounds me how different our personalities are. Like, he gives me pep talks. He wants me to work, but he knows it's not up to him. He knows it's all up to me. But man, we're so different. The thing is, he's always working and earning. I don't associate work with earning anything. I associate work with, like, it's just for myself to get it in print to show that I was here and live before I die. That's what I left a mark of some sort before I disappeared.
Yeah.
That's what I associate with. If any money comes, it doesn't come. It doesn't come. And I don't sell my original artwork. I keep all my original artwork because I feel like I might need it for reproduction in the future. Whereas Matt, it's just money flows in and out of that guy.
Do you think about commissions or taking?
I did commissions on Instagram. I posted a bunch of them.
Yeah.
But I was only charging $300 at first, and I was killing myself. And I drove that up to $800 a piece, and it still felt like I was killing myself. And these are pieces that are just artwork that go out and they go to somebody's wall. I don't make prints. I don't sell the prints. Matt was like, call this guy, get prints made. Right. And I'm like, then I got to cough up all this money for the prints. Next thing you know, I'm mailing prints. And I never wanted to be in the business of like printmaking and packing prints any more than I wanted to be a full-time colorist or work in a comic shop full-time. I could have been an art dealer. I had chances to buy so much artwork. Like, back in '87, you could buy like complete issues of The New Gods by Kirby. You could have gone to Comic-Con and you could have bought a whole issue of Commandy. Where's Commandy? You could have bought if you just only for like hundreds of dollars. Like you could have had, if you had the foresight.
Generic real estate.
Which I did. I had the foresight too, but I was like, this is not my career. I'm supposed to be drawing comics. So I didn't.
You could have done it if you wanted to.
I could have, and yet I don't really regret it. But I didn't get any work. It didn't correlate to look at all the work I got done.
Yeah. But you are a collector, it seems.
So I'm looking at this painting right now. It's nice.
Yeah.
I'm a collector.
Yeah.
A collector. I'm just babbling right now, but I just started buying the complete Barks books from Fantagraphics.
Yeah.
You have any of those? There's 24 volumes. They're beautiful. But I already had the 10 black and white sets, the box sets. Yeah. I've owned those twice, and I've weeded out the worst ones. And I'm like, I'm just going to keep the Peep. Yeah, but they take up so much space, and every time you move,
I always do hauling boxes of comics.
Are we still filming this? Because this is so boring.
We could take a walk or head off to a store.
Yeah, let's walk to.
All right, we are back. Oh my gosh, what an amazing interview. We're back at the Grundle news desk here, and it was amazing to hang out with Joe. I mean, you guys heard all the great stuff there.
Yeah, I don't remember if there being like a good definite ending to that interview.
Yeah,
because the social
really
time it was like an extended private interview show for the next several hours.
It was really fun. Yeah, it was great hanging out. I'd love to hang out with Joe again. I got this amazing Wally Wood, our artist edition off him too.
Yeah.
Like he's always got some books to sell. Check out his eBay. Check him out on Instagram, Joe Peep Show Matt. Check him out on Facebook. He's super open dude. ask him for a commish. Ask him for a commish.
One of the pillars of alternative comics. My favorite moment is we're walking down the street and he goes, my mother calls me up and says, I see Seth's on the cover of the New Yorker. Why aren't you on the cover of the New Yorker? And it was like the most like Joe Matt alt comics experience imaginable.
Oh man, it was so great. I'm looking forward to hopefully hanging out with Joe again, maybe going to search for some records. And I mean, I'd love to make a comic with him. That would be
there. You go. You heard it here first, Joe.
Joe, hit me up. I'd love to. I make comics that are very much like Joe Matt in that it's a daily life. I'm the star. It's my trials and tribulations. When I was growing up, it was a lot more about love lost and what the effects on my life.
Yeah, when it's young, it's about how awful your life is.
Right. Yeah. It always is.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, cool. Shout out to Kevin over at the Mage podcast, the Mage, the Hero Detailed. Right now, we're about to go film with him, but you've probably already seen it. So we hope you enjoy it. Until next time.
Viva Grundle.
And keep on Grandland.